The New York Knicks are virtually cutting Precious Achiuwa, and we have to talk about it. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into the video as always today because the New York Knicks are essentially cutting Precious Achiuwa. He's most likely no longer going to return to the New York Knicks, something that has not been shocking that I've been talking about for a while, and I finally am going to break this whole thing down. The New York Knicks know that they are going to have to make some changes at the big man position as we are just a few hours away from free agency finally beginning, and there is a good chance that Isaiah Hartenstein will not be signing an extension with the New York Knicks and will walk to a team in free agency such as the Oklahoma City Thunder or perhaps the Detroit Pistons, two teams with money that would be willing to pay Hartenstein probably more than what the Knicks can. And in the process, the Knicks, who don't have that much money to avoid that second apron anymore after the Mikal Bridges trade and the OG Anunoby extension, seem to be letting Precious Achiuwa walk, and Fred Katz broke this down. Now, Katz said that the Knicks did not extend the Knicks' 6.3 qualifying offer to Achiuwa, and the Knicks have not ruled him out as someone who they could bring back, but if he picked up that qualifying offer, it would eat into their hard cap situation a lot, which kind of makes me think that he's not going to come back because according to Bobby Marks, Achiuwa's estimated free agency value is $8 to $10 million annually, so that is already more than what the qualifying offer would have been. Essentially, the Knicks could have picked up that qualifying offer from Achiuwa, and he would become a restricted free agent, so where any team could offer Achiuwa a contract, he could sign the offer sheet, but the Knicks would be able to match it and say, nope, you are coming to the New York Knicks still. I don't care if, say, let's pick a random team. The San Antonio Spurs gave you a $10 million per year contract over 3 years. 3 years, $30 million. We want you back, and we want you on that contract, so we're going to qualify that offer. We're going to use your restricted free agency to bring you back for the contract you agreed to with the Spurs. And essentially, then he just goes back to the Knicks. It's not like it's his choice at all. That's why it's called restricted free agency. I know a lot of you guys know that, but some of you might not, and it is a good thing to break down while we are in the beginning of the free agency period. Now, at the same time, we're looking at the Knicks who don't have that much money to spend. They still want to bring Isaiah Hartenstein back. There's still a world where Hartenstein came back. There were some reports recently that the Knicks still are very much in on Hartenstein. Hartenstein is not ruled out coming back to the Knicks yet. He could still very well sign with the New York Knicks, which would be great, though it would definitely make the Knicks totally over that first apron. And they made a lot of moves yesterday. Brock Aller, the New York Knicks assistant GM, is an absolute cap wizard, and he did a lot for us in recent days. Now, according to Tommy Beer, here were some of the moves made by the Knicks yesterday. They didn't tender the qualifying offer for Achiuwa, making him an unrestricted free agent. The Knicks could still bring him back, but probably only if they can get him on a discount deal. They also picked up Jericho Sims' $2.1 million option for next season, meaning the Knicks will have, if nothing else, Jericho Sims to be a backup center for the Knicks for the league minimum. They let Daquan Jeffries go, or they basically just declined his team option so they could essentially save some money. They gave another two-way qualifying offer to Jacob Toppin, so he'll probably be back on a two-way contract next year. They didn't do that with Dwayne Washington Jr., and they did not do that with Charlie Brown Jr. either. So this is all because of this. It's all because of being in the first apron. The Knicks are almost certainly going to be past the first apron, which does come with some restrictions. It's nowhere near the second apron, which is way worse. But for the New York Knicks, the first apron will be that they cannot take in salaries in a trade or more salary than they're sending out. For instance, Mikal, they couldn't have done that if they were already in the first apron because Mikal Bridges makes $23 million and Bojan makes $20 million. So the Knicks would have had to add Deuce McBride if they wanted to make that trade so it could be even, or add even more money, such as a sign and trade type deal with Achiuwa. You can't even do that anymore, actually, now that I think about it. Sign and trades cannot be multiple team or multiple player deals like that anymore. They cannot sign buyout players who had a salary over $12.9 million, which is the mid-level exception. The Knicks mid-level exception, or any first apron team like the four here currently, only can pay $5.2 as a mid-level. So now instead of getting to pay someone nearly $13 million per year as your mid-level exception, you can only offer them $5 million per year. Obviously, that's a massive difference. It's more than half gone. And then you also cannot use some trade exceptions from the prior season. So there's a lot of restrictions. It is nothing like the second apron, which is absolutely ruthless on teams. This is a way to prevent super teams. It's why they're doing it. And there's going to be a few teams potentially in the second apron, such as the Boston Celtics, such as the Minnesota Timberwolves. If you guys want to break down on the second apron in more depth, I'll definitely do one at some point. But you could also head over to Celtics Digest, where I did a guest video with Bruce Velez. It was an awesome time just breaking down the Knicks-Celtics rivalry. And he did a great job explaining the second apron over there. So make sure to check that out. But also, when it comes to Precious Achiuwa, when it comes to bringing back Jericho Sims, I think bringing back Jericho is the Knicks' way of saying, all right, well, we don't need Precious anymore. We already have a 6'8", 6'9" athletic freak. I think Achiuwa is better. Don't get me wrong. I think most people would agree. But he costs so much more. The Knicks have to cut costs here. It's what? A guy who's not even going to be in your rotation? Yeah, you take Sims in that case. You don't go out of your way and screw up your finances when you really want to bring Isaiah Hartenstein back, which is the key of things here. And it's not like there's a world difference between them. I mean, if you ask Dariel, he'll be like, dude, I hate Precious. I don't like Jericho. I kind of wish he was on the video right now, and part of me wants to literally FaceTime him while I'm making this, because I know if I was like, dude, so are you excited? Precious is gone. Jericho's back. Big moves. I know you love both of them, but he's not here right now. He's off doing his thing. He'll probably talk on it a bit. We'll get on video, break this whole thing down at some point. But it is fun to think about because Dariel does not like Precious Achiuwa's game at all, but he's a former professional athlete. Precious did put up 7.5 points with 6.5 rebounds per game. He was able to get almost 1 block shot per game, finished at 1.5 stocks, which is not the worst when you're playing in and out of the rotation. Still young at 24 years old. I think anyone who looks can tell there's a lot of potential to Precious Achiuwa's game. It's a matter of can he get there. The Knicks did not have a consistent role for Achiuwa, which is not great for player development. I would love to see Precious go to a worse team and where he can really try to be that starting power forward. I mean, he can score off of assists. He could also score without assists. He does have a positive value over a replacement player, which is huge, and a defensive box plus minus of 0.3, which is actually more impressive than you'd think when you consider how little his minutes are. Defensive box plus minus is always very low regardless. So the fact that he did that, it is a little bit more impressive than one would imagine. He shot also over 50% from the field. I don't think Precious is a bad player at all. I don't think the New York Knicks will be able to keep him financially. If they could, they would. But they literally cannot. I've been waiting to make a video on this, and since they officially declined his option, since free agency is literally going to begin in like an hour from when I'm dropping this video, so it might get overshadowed by whenever Hartenstein makes his decision, whatever that may be. I've wanted to talk about this because this is just a financial thing. This has nothing to do with Precious as a player. I'm not saying the Knicks don't like him. The Knicks seem like they really like Precious Achiuwa. It's more they just cannot afford him. When you make a trade like this, when you bring in a Mikal Bridges, when you bring that contract, when you bring OG back on that contract, you're going to have to sacrifice some guys who maybe were on your team last season in order to pay the guys who matter most. Now, I'm not trying to shade Precious or anything. It's the last thing I want to do. I think he's awesome. He was so huge against guarding Joel Embiid in the playoffs at only 6'8", and he was giving Embiid hell a lot of the time. So I'm not hating on Precious. I'm just saying with this roster, they had to pay OG that money to keep him around, and that does mean you're going to have to make some sacrifices. If the contracts were flipped and Precious could be making $2.1 million and Jericho was getting $6.3, you better believe they would have just kept Precious Achiuwa around. It was totally a financial thing, and the Knicks do see him as similar enough players where it doesn't seem likely where they're going to bring both back. However, there is still... Jericho Sims is a fine third-string center and might be able to hold his own as a backup if he really gets the chance to do so. Obviously, the stats don't look great. He hardly really got any rotational minutes this year, outside of a brief starting point when Mitch got injured and then Jericho started for a bit but then hurt his ankle also. But he put up 2 points, 3 rebounds, shot 69% from the field, good offensive rebounder, good shot blocker, fouls way too much. I know it doesn't say he fouls way too much, but he does have a problem fouling. He really is a very solid defender. It's the fact that he has zero offensive bag whatsoever is very worrisome, even if he's a center. So I think he'll be around, obviously. The Knicks took his option, meaning he is at least their third-string center. I could see him backing up Mitch at some points. I think Tibbs does kind of like Jericho. We'll see what the Knicks want to do with that. They also still do have their mid-level exception to throw at a guy like a Nick Richards or a Goga Batadze or Andre Drummond or something. So there will be more options. As we know, he's going to be priced out at that $8 to $10 million range. And Ian Begley kind of broke down another part of this, which is the Knicks are not trading Deuce McBride to bring back Precious Achiuwa or anything like that. Because as Begley mentioned, The Knicks have virtually no interest in trading Miles McBride as part of the Mikal Bridges trade. They still need to add money to that so they can avoid being hard capped at the first apron, and the current trade would leave them capped at a team salary of $178 million, which is over the cap or over the first apron in the luxury tax. Dolan's not going to care about paying the luxury tax. It's a mere fact of the first apron. The Knicks have to accept they're going to be in it, and they're probably going to lose Isaiah Hartenstein in the process. If you avoid that second apron, you should be okay. I think they will be. Leon Rose and Brock Gallagher have done an excellent job at making sure this team is getting paid, and all these contracts are good. I mean, DiVincenzo's contract is a steal. Brunson is one of the greatest value contracts I've ever seen, not counting rookies and their contracts and stuff. Mitch is on a good deal. Randall's on a good deal. OG is getting paid a lot, but you had to do it. I trust the Knicks. I think they're going to be able to figure this one out, though it is going to be without Precious Achiuwa. But free agency is about to begin, so guys, you got to make sure you're subscribed, like this, turn on post notifications, do all that good stuff. We are going to be right on it. Anytime something happens to the New York Knicks, we are going to have a video out in the next 20 minutes. That is a guarantee. It will not be anything else. Every single time I see Knicks news in the next 20 minutes, you will see this face or Dariel's, and we'll be already giving a breakdown on it. We're wasting no time. You guys don't want to miss it. We will be earlier than any other outlet the second the news comes out to break it down for you guys. So make sure you're subscribed. This is a really long outro. I don't know why, especially because I'm losing my voice. So I'll catch y'all later. Have a great day. Go Knicks.